So you want to be OP? Well, I am here to help. All right, so we've got a very quick one this time. So we're playing Breathfire 3 here. I want to point out one thing now. I've actually taken this footage from later on in the game. But basically, the first time that you can get into Momo's tower, you can run into these ice toads here. And you can steal the ice shards from them. Now, keep in mind, you have to learn steal from Delonzo. Which isn't actually too terribly difficult. It doesn't take too long to actually learn that. But unfortunately, you will not have the charm ability quite yet, which does increase the success rates of steal. So again, early on in the game, this is going to be a little bit more difficult to steal these. But you know, when you do, you get life shards, and I think it pays off. I would probably recommend just giving them to the main character. He is always going to be with you, so I think it usually makes a lot of sense to give those to him. So again, that's probably the earliest thing that you can do, I think, to give yourself a bit of a boost. Keep in mind that these life shards, unfortunately, you 1 to your maximum health, so it's not going to be game breaking unless you really spend a lot of time there. The last kind of thing that you can do, I think, is really just your gear setups. Now, the protectors as well as the tiger caps are pretty good. Protectors are probably the best shield in the game, I would say. Those are buyable through the fairies, or the fairy village, which is actually where a lot of the good equipment in the game comes from. Ivory charms are another. Ivory charms should probably be used on every single one of your characters, just because of all the benefits that they've actually got. Your other accessory, you can kind of go with something else. If you want to do soul stones, cool, because you'll just never die then. Those are a good option. Otherwise, things like the Ring of Fires are really good. Unfortunately, actually, I should say so. Just to back up a little bit, the males can all use the magma armor, which I think is, I mean, it's not the best armor in the game, but it's amazing, and it'll do you a lot of good throughout the game. Unfortunately, it takes a little bit of time to actually get them. And they actually absorb fire damage, and there's plenty of enemies in the game that use fire-based attacks. So one other thing I want to talk about is, again, actually it's really the fairy village. Now, the fairy village doesn't become available until a good amount of time in. I mean, I don't know how many hours it takes to get there, but it's probably the second thing that you can do that I think is, sort of game breaking. But what I actually do generally is, and especially to get my first ivory dice. So what I do is I send out fairies that are not so good, and send them out onto distant expeditions. And oftentimes they will just flat out die. But sometimes they will come back, and that is how you can sometimes get ivory dice. Now, the other thing that you can do is run a bunch of copy shops. I think the best items in the game to copy are the swallow eyes. They are the only way to permanently, shouldn't say the only way, they are able to permanently increase the agility of your characters. Now, agility, I would argue, is probably the most important stat in the game, and the reason for that is if you've got enough agility, your characters will get an extra turn in combat. And again, I think just strategy-wise, and being that we're playing an RPG, I think that is the best way to make yourself overpowered. Again, getting two turns in an RPG is amazing. So, again, I widely regard that stat as the most important. Kind of everything else is a bit secondary as far as overpoweredness. So that's about it. Again, a couple of different things that you can do. Just to recap, it's getting life shards early on in the game. The second would be just doing stuff in the fairy village, copying good items and sending out fairies to get things like ivory charms. And I think, again, if you take these steps and build up your fairy village especially, you will be OP. So hopefully this guide was helpful, and as always, hope you join for more videos. Thanks for watching.